While Fortnite has tons of absolutely incredible mobility items that we all know and love, such as airbending or shockwave grenades, we have also seen some extremely poor, miserable mobility items. And that's exactly what we're going to take a look at today, guys. Today we're going to revisit some of Fortnite's worst mobility items. If you go on to like this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for all the love on the 10K special. And if you'd like to support me in the Fortnite item shop, be sure to use code TYFRYZ to help support my channel and what I do here. But with all that being said, let's get right into it. Honestly, I kind of hate to put this item on here because I do have some sentimental value to it, but it's got to be the impulse grenades. I remember when these came out and it was such a big deal. I mean, to my knowledge, this is one of, if not the first mobility item ever. You throw it at your feet and it would send you a couple meters forward, right? It's like kind of cool. And I remember Dr. Lupo and Ninja used to go back and forth throwing each other off the cliffs. Like, it was a really fun item, and at the time, it was pretty good, but now that we've seen so many other mobility items, the impulse grenade just absolutely falls all the way to the bottom. For one, you can only really send yourself maybe 5, 10, 15 meters max, and getting into my second point, you take fall damage using these. That is the biggest problem. How are you gonna get effective mobility when you're taking fall damage? It was cool and fun when it first came out, but I don't think there's gonna be a ton of disagreement. I do have a little bit of nostalgia for this item, but let's be real here, it is one of the worst. And an item with a similar kind of history, and I guess it's not even really an item, that's gonna be the shopping cart. The shopping cart was Fortnite's first vehicle, and this was a huge deal when it came out. This was Fortnite's first vehicle. Fortnite had teased for forever, honestly, that they would bring vehicles to the game, and now we have, you know, these super bougie fast cars fly across the map. We have gas, we have, I mean, it's crazy the amount of vehicles, planes, helicopters, tanks, buses, all of it. But back then, this was a huge deal, and it was just a shopping cart. It was extremely slow. If you wanted to sit in the front of it, you were just a sitting duck, literally just standing in a shopping cart. Again, I do have a lot of nostalgia for this item, but there's going to be no surprise that this is on this list. It is actually awful. It's one of those things where I feel bad knocking them because it was the first time they added vehicles, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. Next, I'm going to put a super controversial one here, and that's going to be the Wings of Icarus. In terms of actually going across the map, Wings of Icarus was truly one of the best. I just have two really major gripes with the Wings of Icarus. One, if you guys didn't know during this season, the wings actually counted as part of your hitbox. Now, I know what you're going to say, just spam right, spam left, like whatever. You are such a big target in the air trying to fly away from somebody with this. I just found myself every time I was in the air, no matter if I was darting right, darting left, what I was doing, just getting fried out of the air. This is kind of a tough one because in, I guess, quote unquote, mobility terms, this is a good item. Getting from one location to the other, this was a good item. And I just felt like the delay when you tried to go up in the air and also when you landed, again, just a sitting duck. If you watched any type of pro gameplay, or especially if you played ranked or anything, you would know, if you tried to go up in the air against a good player, try and fly away or dart towards someone, you were just going to get beamed out of the air. That's just the truth. And so I know that some people are going to have their words with me in the comments, so go for it. Let me know what you think about this pick, but I think it deserves a spot here. Next, let's talk about jetpacks. I guess kind of both the regular jetpack and Mandalorian's jetpack. I really would consider the jetpack to be a mobility item, right? And so if you guys don't know, all it is, you would just jump in the air, hold a button, and you would just go basically vertical, up or down. Of course, you can move forward or backwards as well. And this is another example of one of those items where you're really just a sitting duck. If you try and use the jetpack against really a good player, you're gonna have a tough time, especially just going straight up vertical. That is such an easy shot. What I will say is this definitely excels, let's say when someone's above you on high ground in a box, they're not looking at you, you just jetpack on top of them and then do what you got to do. In that sense, it's very good, but I feel like it's just a very couple niche situations when the jetpack is good, and I feel like there are more situations when this weapon is bad or this item is bad versus when it is good. And I think the Mandalorian's jetpack, you could basically say the same thing. Now, I think the Mandalorian's jetpack is a little bit better just because you could actually shoot while using the jetpack. The regular jetpack, you could not do that, but Mandalorian's jetpack, I am almost 100% sure that you could shoot while using that jetpack. So in my opinion, that makes it a little bit better. But in terms of mobility, I don't think that they're anything special, and they're going to stay at the bottom of this list. Next, let's talk about kind of a confusing one, and that is the Crashpad Junior. Some may kind of see this one as a reach, and if you know anything about what the Crashpad is, the Crashpad Junior is just a smaller version of them. It's just like a little buoy, basically. You throw it at the ground, you would just bounce on top of it like a little trampoline, you know what I'm saying? But let's just be honest, it's just a worse version of the Crashpad, and I think some people could make the argument that it is actually better than the Crashpad because it's smaller, less of an area for your enemy to shoot out the Crashpad. But if you ask me, I would rather take the regular, bigger Crashpad over the Crashpad Junior, and it's just not really an original idea. I don't know, it's kind of boring. It's just a smaller version of a Crashpad. You can only get so far with them, maybe if you hold, multiple at a time, but if you just have one or two, you're really not going to be going anywhere. It's good for vertical mobility especially, not so much like laterally moving from side to side or forward and backwards, but going straight up in the air, yeah, it's okay, but I don't think it's better than a lot of the mobility items that Fortnite has ever seen. You guys got to remember, we're talking about kinetic blades, Spider-Man web shooter, shockwave hammer, like this just doesn't stand against any of those. And why don't we just keep the controversial takes coming here? I know somebody's gonna argue with this one. That's gonna be Chrome Splash. And this is an entirely personal pick. I feel like most of the other picks on this list have been pretty objectively true as to how kind of the community sees them, right? But I think a good amount of people actually liked Chrome Splash, and Chrome Splash was decent, but not great in my opinion. It had a lot of unique properties. First of all, when you would use the Chrome Splash, you would turn into like this chrome blob, and you would just kind of like slither like a snake across the ground, right? And so you were kind of a hard target because you weren't just a straight up standing person, right? You were like very low to the ground and moving pretty fast. I could be entirely wrong here, and I didn't do my research, of course, but I believe Chrome Splash may have had some like healing properties, like you might have gotten some white HP back from using it. Not entirely sure on that. So you're probably sitting here like, Ty, what are you saying? You're just naming good things. Why is it on a list of the worst mobility items? I have a couple issues with this item though. First of all, and this is very niche, but you can see the blob, right, when you're in the Chrome Splash from way further away on visual audio versus just walking. And again, like I said, that's very niche, but the range at which you could see somebody on visual audio who was using Chrome Splash was a lot further than just a regular person walking, which can be a problem sometimes. Also, the fact that you couldn't build, and there was a little bit of a delay in that animation from when you got hit to turning to a regular player and then being able to build. If you faced a good player with the hammer assault rifle, for example, you were going to get shredded. In my opinion, it just felt awkward to use, right? Like, I would only use this item for rotating to zone, that's all, right? Like, for me, I use sprint during fights, but if you kind of Chrome Splash yourself, you instantly turn into a blob, right? You start out as a chrome person, and then if you use that sprint button, you turn to a blob. For me, I did not like that. You could also phase through stuff. For me, like, I don't want to, phase through stuff by accident and get yourself killed. You remember that animation was super, super slow. So I don't think that it's OP. I remember some people at the time were like, oh, it's hard to hit, it's fast moving, it's definitely OP. In my opinion, it's not OP, but it is good for rotating, so I'll give it that. And finally, I'm going to make this one quick because I feel like I've talked about it in every video now. That's going to be the Spire jump boots. They were a ton of work to try and get, and just a very, very poor mobility item. If you remember, you would jump 3 times in a row and it would just activate glider redeploy. Like, that's it. You're already enough of a free shot in the air anyways, so that really does nothing for me. Gliding in the air is one of the easiest way to just get beamed. Now, I will say, Chapter 2, Season 6, you had a lot of really inaccurate weapons with a lot of bloom, so you can factor that in there. I just think it's a poor item. It ranked really poorly in my video ranking every single mythic item, and it stays in another list for some of Fortnite's worst mobility items ever. And that's it, guys. That is my revisitation of some of Fortnite's worst mobility items ever. Let me know in the comment section below, what did I hit on? What did I miss? What would you have added? I really would love to hear that in the comments. Thanks again for all the support on the recent videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.